Alright guys, I'm ready for Doctor Strange 2. I'm cool, calm, and collected. Oh my god! What's going on everyone? James here with another real review, and today we're getting into all of my spoiler-free thoughts on one of my most anticipated movies of the year, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. A huge thank you to Disney and Marvel Studios for giving me the chance to watch this early for review, but you can check it out in theaters May 6th. And when you do, let me know down below in the comments exactly what you thought of this film. And hey, before we hop right into everything, if this is your first time here at the channel, welcome to Real James, where I love talking about movies like this all the time. So if you do too, go ahead and hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, tap on the bell for more videos like this and first impressions outside of the theater. I did that. I dropped it for Doctor Strange 2. It's right at the top of the screen. And hey, go ahead and hit the like button again if you're a big fan of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Oh man, there's a lot to talk about. So let's waste no more time. If you don't know about the story, let's kind of summarize it here. It's Doctor Strange, guys, and with the help of mystical allies both old and new, he traverses the mind-bending and dangerous alternate realities of the multiverse to confront a mysterious new adversary. Okay, maybe it's not so mysterious because it's been in all the promo and marketing, but it's Wanda versus Stephen Strange. I mean, come on now. I mean, we all knew that was coming, right? Especially after WandaVision. But man, there is just, a lot here that made me so excited before even getting into the theater. It's directed by the legend himself, Sam Raimi. As you can tell on my set today, I got The Evil Dead. He's directed that. Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, Drag Me to Hell. What other films should I throw out there, you guys? Sam Raimi knows what he's doing. And he's joined by Michael Waldron, who wrote the script here, who also wrote the script for Loki. Danny Elfman is composing the score, the legend himself, who did both Spider-Man 1 and 2. And then you have his cinematographer, John Matheson, who, well, was the man behind how beautiful Gladiator and Logan looked. And when it comes to the cast itself, it's an ensemble, but you do have your leads here: Benedict Cumberbatch, Elizabeth Olsen, Xochitl Gomez, Benedict Wong, goodness gracious, Chiwetel Ejiofor. There's so many names to drop here, and we'll talk about all of them as we get into this review. But you know, we're gonna of course begin with the positives, guys. We're getting into all of my spoiler-free thoughts. Again, it's not gonna be anything here that you have to worry about. I know things have been going around, but you won't find that here on the channel. So let's begin right at the top here with the directing by Sam Raimi, because it is quite possibly some of the best directing, if not the best directing, in the MCU. He really brings his trademark horror approach into this cinematic universe, and the way he directs everyone in this cast is incredible, but in particular Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda, or as we come to know her, the Scarlet Witch, is incredibly well done. I just love the way that he uses that character. I feel like him and Elizabeth Olsen were on this insane level of chemistry. They were just able to really nail every single scene. There's a lot of jump scares in the second half as well, and I thought it was great that him and John Matheson were able to work together to bring some of those familiar filmmaking aspects. If you're a fan of Sam Raimi, there's a lot here for you, and I was drooling at some of these shots. They were incredibly well done. You have the shots that of course go into the eyes of the character, but then there are a lot of cool moments where you start to feel like, oh, Sam Raimi's bringing in some things that we have come to love about his films prior to Multiverse of Madness. So there is just a lot here for fans of Sam Raimi and fans of the MCU to chew on. And honestly, the pacing was excellent to me. We quickly get into that central conflict between Wanda and Strange, and the film wastes no time. Now, admittedly, it did catch me off guard because I was not expecting us to get right into the thick of things literally within the first 20 minutes of the movie. But I kind of like that they did that because there's just so much to unpack here. This movie is literally a ton of madness, so we had to figure out what we're dealing with right away, and I'm not mad at it. There's also lots of exposition in the middle of this film via Wong and Mordo, but I'm not too upset because at least it helped me stay on track. I know it's weird to say that because if you know me, I do not like exposition via dialogue, but they did more show than tell. I would say for about 90% of the movie. There are some periods of time here where we are listening to a character talk about the multiverse and some of the elements of the multiverse, but it's nice when they actually show it eventually, so I at least was never lost throughout the film. And finally, for this section, this movie is as much a MCU movie as it is a Sam Raimi movie. He takes those cosmic elements that director Scott Derrickson introduced in Doctor Strange and just turns it up to an 11. I mean, there are weird moments here, and I'm not even saying weird in a bad way, it's just weird. I've never seen this before in a Marvel movie, and I love how weird it got, but it also got very brutal in terms of violence. Yes, I mean violence. To me, this is the most violent MCU movie that we've ever gotten, even more so than, yes, that snap. I mean, the blip, that's child's play compared to what you're about to see in this movie. Alrighty, so let's move right along to the writing here, and you know what? As someone who didn't love Loki, I was hesitant with Michael Waldron penning the script for Multiverse of Madness, but guys, it worked for me. There are a lot of familiar MCU elements here, you know, the formula of you get some heart-pounding action and then you get a lot of jokes. So that worked okay, but for me it was really the movie having a lot of heart and soul that separated it from the rest of the films in the MCU. But the absolute best aspect of the writing is how it made me feel conflicted. I love Doctor Strange and I love Wanda. Both are right in their own regard, but both have also done wrong. It's this constant tug of war internally as a moviegoer where I thought, oh my god, okay, Wanda, I understand what you're doing, but Doctor Strange, you're also being a hypocrite. There's so much back and forth, but it made for an exhilarating ride. Now, one more technical aspect we have to mention before we get into the acting itself is the score and music in this movie. Danny freaking Elfman, are you out of your absolute mind, sir? The way he was able to orchestrate this score was just out of this world. I genuinely believe the man is just gifted. He is so gifted because there's a lot of things in this movie that are okay, but with the score, it's just so much better. Him and Sam Raimi really do go together like sweet potato pie in Thanksgiving. I just loved his score here, which infuses more than just your traditional orchestra. It also uses guitar riffs, sharp piano keys during more scary moments of this movie, and a funky blend of modern sounds to truly put the madness into Multiverse of Madness. Now, without spoiling anything, of course, there's this scene in the film that involves musical notes, and it is excellent. But that's mainly because of the score. Man, I really do love everything that Danny Elfman did here. However, I wish we heard a little bit more of Doctor Strange's theme here. I wish it was more prominent. I really don't remember a single instance where we heard Doctor Strange's theme. I love what Michael Giacchino did with the first film, and I love Doctor Strange's theme. I just don't really remember hearing it here. But that's maybe the one negative about the score. Other than that, it is near perfect. Also, let's just say Danny Elfman was very cheeky in a particular scene. If you know, you know. Alrighty, y'all, so we're gonna get right into the acting here, and I do have a few standouts among this ensemble cast. Now, mind you, before I go into this, there's nothing bad about the acting of this movie. I didn't feel one actor was out of place. However, I do feel like maybe they were used improperly. But let's start off with Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange himself, because, I mean, the man is just the perfect casting for this role. To me, he delivers his most dynamic performance yet as our favorite sorcerer, and it's because he has to balance between playing Stephen Strange as we know him and other versions of him throughout the multiverse. There's a lot of layers here to his performance, and at times I was like, oh, I buy him as a crazy version, and at other times I'm like, man, I like him when he's grounded and also a little sassy. So you almost have the best of both sides of the playing field. And the movie does hone in a lot more on his relationship with Christine Palmer than I thought they would have, and I'm not too upset about it. They gave Doctor Strange more of a soul in this movie, which is actually pretty welcoming to see. And the last thing I'll say about it is, guys, he is just the most consistent performer in the movie. I mean, there is nothing wrong with what he did, and I actually was pretty compelled in that third act during a particular scene between him and somebody, so I thought it was just really well done on Benedict Cumberbatch's part. But we gotta move on now to our other lead here, the woman of the hour, or the witch of the hour, Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda, or of course, Scarlet Witch. Her performance in WandaVision to me was perfect, but here she's incredibly unhinged, heartbroken, and ruthless, and it all made for an excellent performance that rivaled what she did in WandaVision. But guys, her role really did provide the most horror. All the scary vibes that you get from this movie is because of, well, Scarlet Witch. Sam Raimi really does feast on scenes that center Elizabeth Olsen, and I love the fact that there are these scary elements at play. But on the other hand, she also has one of the most emotional scenes in the film too. Of course, this movie is going to address, her children, so there's a lot there that, well, I'm not a mother, so I can't always connect to some of those scenes, but I'd imagine as someone who is a mother, they're going to resonate with Elizabeth Olsen's actions here. But I also felt the anger that Elizabeth Olsen's character had and the resentment that Wanda had towards Strange. And finally, guys, we see the true potential, the true strength of Scarlet Witch on full display. I mean, this movie doesn't hold back. There's a particular instance where she displays her power and it caught me off guard, but I thought to myself, you know what? That tracks. But throughout it all, I just kept telling myself, we need more of Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda in the MCU, just because of how great she was not only in WandaVision, but how great she was here in Doctor Strange too. And the last standout for me here among this cast is Xochitl Gomez as America Chavez. Like I mentioned in my first impressions, I did not know anything about this character, and I hardly knew anything about Xochitl Gomez herself. I think she was in Netflix's The Babysitters Club, right? That's about it. But man, I now know two things. One, I love America Chavez and her full display of power, and I also love Xochitl Gomez in the MCU. She brings this childlike, innocent nature. She's naive, but she also knows her worth. However, she's exploring the multiverse, I guess, to find an answer to a question that she's had on her mind, and she's trying to just really find herself. So it's just incredible to see her and Strange team up. To be honest, Xochitl Gomez and Benedict Cumberbatch together had probably some of the best chemistry in the entire movie. And it was really welcoming to see that they gave Xochitl Gomez lines in Spanish, because it really just allows the audience to understand more about her as a human before we know her as a superhero. She has Hispanic roots, of course, so it was just really cool to see that come into play, especially in the first half of the movie. But the last thing I will say is that the childlike charm, right, going back to that a little bit, with America Chavez and Xochitl Gomez just allows for the performance to feel very genuine and authentic. Alrighty, you guys, so we went through all of my positives for this movie, but now it's time to get into what I thought didn't work about this film, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't have many negative notes for this one, but I do have some gripes with the film, and it begins with, and you'll probably notice I didn't mention Benedict Wong in that positive section. It's not because of his performance. I thought he did a really good job in this movie, but it's the way they handle his character. Again, Wong is underused in a Marvel movie. He's not given much screen time at all, and when we were getting a decent chunk of him on screen in the first half of the movie, I thought, man, we're really going to get a lot more of him in the second half, aren't we? And we really didn't. The movie strays from him for a while, and I don't like that they continue to do that with the character of Wong, but I also don't like that they do that with Mordo. I think that Chiwetel Ejiofor, I know he's a great actor, but in the MCU, I think there's a lot of untapped potential still with his character of Mordo, and I really hope we kind of explore that as we get deeper into the MCU, but I have a funny feeling that they won't. And of course, we have another legend among this cast, Rachel McAdams as Christine Palmer, who I do think does a great job in the first film. But here in the sequel, I felt the movie didn't do the best job at making me feel the connection between her and Doctor Strange. Unfortunately, it was a little surface level, but because this movie is so jam-packed with surprises, with the story at hand between Wanda and Stephen Strange, there's not a lot of room for Christine Palmer. The movie could have done a much better job at building up this connection between the two, because it just really doesn't work when they try to hit that home run in the third act. And guys, don't worry, I'm coming back to a comment I made earlier in the positive section. So, when it comes to the writing for Wanda, right, as a character, I think that it was questionable at best because of certain acts that happen in the second half of this movie. Wanda is always having to take the brunt of everyone's criticism for changing Westview, for doing things, manipulating the natural order of law, or whatever the heck that is. But no one else bats an eye at Doctor Strange. They hail him as a hero. But when it comes to Wanda, she's oftentimes looked at as the villain. But to me, I think she's very much right in what she says in this movie, where essentially Stephen Strange changes the world. no one bats an eye, but she does it, and everyone looks at her like she's the bad girl, or almost said bad guy, but bad girl. I do think that her character has a lot more to offer in the MCU, so again, I'm really hoping that we kind of explore Wanda as a character that has a better arc in movies to come, because I am kind of tired of everyone pinning the blame on her. And technically speaking, I think that the CGI in the first act was really wonky, you guys, and maybe a little too noticeable, but it did get better as the movie went on, so this was a negative that kind of turned into a positive. And lastly, guys, before we get into my overall thoughts, as much as I love this movie's pacing, I absolutely adore pretty much everything we got from this film. There are maybe too many moments towards the end of the movie where I thought, oh, we're stuffing a lot into one scene here, aren't we? There are a lot of story beats in that third act that just felt sandwiched into the ending, and I don't think it actually helps the film. I feel like the movie could have probably ended a different way, but instead it ends on a note that I figured, okay, I'm not necessarily so sure I love where it ended, because it's introducing yet again something else, and I'm like, guys, I know this movie's meant to set up for the rest of the MCU as well, but man, can we end on a better note here? Can we kind of like just get into that conclusion a little bit smoother? But the movie doesn't do that, so I think those who say, ah man, I didn't really like the way that this movie ended, it's valid. But overall, you guys, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is everything I wanted it to be. I love this movie, you guys. It is a Sam Raimi film within the MCU. Sam Raimi does not let his authentic vision, his style, get taken away by the MCU formula, which I don't hate. I actually like it, but I love the fact that this is, at the end of the day, a Sam Raimi movie. As an MCU fan, I am completely satisfied. As a Sam Raimi fan, I am over the moon. I mean, this film really does break new ground for the MCU, and I can confidently say that you've never seen a movie like this before in this cinematic universe. Telling you guys, there's so much in this movie that will blow your mind. There's a lot here that might make you question, are you Team Wanda or are you Team Strange? But for me, there's just a lot to love. I was cheering at different bits of the score from Danny Elfman. I enjoyed the filmmaking by Sam Raimi, and the acting here from Elizabeth Olsen, for example, just really knocked my socks off. It is just I would say a top tier Marvel movie. So if you had to ask me, what are you even rating this film? I would give it 4.5 capes out of 5. I mean, I love this movie a lot. I know I just said that, but guys, I can't express it enough. This film is going to just look so beautiful on the big screen for a lot of first time watchers, and I can't wait, as someone who's already seen it, to rewatch the film and pick up on some things that I might have missed the first time. But there you have it, you guys. Again, that's my real review for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which hits theaters May 6th. So when you see it, let me know down below in the comments what you thought of this film. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Or do you fall kind of in the middle? And hey, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit the big red button below. Subscribe to the channel, guys, for more reviews just like this. Hit the thumbs up button and turn on those bell notifications, because I'm going to do my best to cover Moon Knight's series finale this week. Or is it season finale? Which one is it, guys? Alrighty, again, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you at the next screening. And I just noticed this whole time I got Strange and Wanda on set with me. They better play nice.